Today, I want to give you a guide to how to create a more luxurious look in your home for the fall season. We have everything to share with you, from a beautiful color palette to practical items, patterns, and things that you will want to bring into your home that will give you a luxurious feeling, but they don't have to break the bank. Make sure you hit subscribe if you haven't already, because we're going to be giving you a full tour of the house dressed for this fall season, and I can't wait. So I hope I'll get to see you there. So make sure you subscribe, and let's jump into today's video. I have to sit down my coffee cup because I get so excited about fall. I think I may actually prefer fall over winter. There's something so decadent and rich about the fall season. I think part of it is that summertime, it's all about shedding everything, the layers off of us, eating lighter food, feeling light and airy. But when it comes to fall, it's all about hibernation, it's all about warm light, it's all about feeling cozy. But I think it's also a season in which we become a little bit more decadent. We have time to stay in. We, instead of light food, we're like, let's add some shaved truffle to that pasta, right? Like, let's just create this feeling of decadence, especially if you're like me and you love a luxurious feeling, then you are shaking your head yes. A few years ago, felt like I kept going into the stores and I just felt like it was just missing the mark for me. I could see all the pumpkins and the scarecrows, and after living abroad for 12 years, I was like, yay, pumpkins. And then I was like, I don't actually want all of these things. Some of them, like candy corns, yes. But I don't want to put my candy corns out in a bowl, right, shaped like a ghost. I want to put them in maybe a really beautiful vessel that's lidded. Maybe one that says treats on it would be great. But I'm looking for something that felt more luxurious. I'd interacted with more luxurious homes, and the more I interacted with them, the more I felt this dissonance between what I was seeing in the store and what I really was craving. So I went on this hunt to create a more luxurious feel. For me, that all started with a color palette. This color palette is based off of the feeling of this season. And when you think about the fall season, it's not just about this quick flash in the pan flourish that happens over a few days of the bright reds and the oranges and the yellows. That's kind of fun, and you can bring those things into your home as well. But it's the entire season, right? It's when the light becomes a little dimmer. It's more diffused. We have the candles going and the lights inside our home begin to dim, and there's a glow that happens from within. There's also the fog that sets in, and there's this mossy, damp feeling to the season as it begins to rain more. And if you ever go for a walk in the forest, we've always loved to go for walks this time of year because you can just, each step just brings this fragrance of the leaves and the moss and the wood. And so for me, this season, I want to capture all of that and bring it into my home in a very luxurious way. This color palette is filled with beautiful colors. I've used all Benjamin Moore colors, so you could use these on your walls, and I'm going to be going through these colors and explaining to you different ways in which you can use them in your home beyond just the wall color. But I wanted to give you paint colors so it could kind of give you a little jumping off point. So I have used white dove, I've used natural linen, I've used smoky ash, clay, Essex green, tarpley brown, and of course midnight oil, because to me, no time of year, no season is complete without a little touch of smoky black included in there. But you can really feel the essence of fire and moss and those shades of dried leaves and just like the essence of the season, right? So when it comes to how to decorate with this, I like to think about the activities that we're going to be doing during this season. Hibernation, number one. I start to think about the cozy factor. So of course I want to have beautiful light. I'm going to have the fire going. I'm going to have the candles lit. I'm going to have the fire pits going. I really love the cozy factor of the season. So when it comes to how to include this color palette, simple ways to also bring that cozy in is through blankets. You can pick from any of the colors across the spectrum. So for me, I have the soft diffused white shades already in my home through my upholstery, through my wall color. You can see it in a little bit of the marble here and some of my spheres and my rug, right? I have a lot of that lighter end in my home, and I have the dark shades of the black. So for me, I like to start bringing in the middle ground into my home to bring the color palettes together. So when it comes to cozy decadence, there's just nothing quite like a beautiful blanket. I love to find something that's got the shades of that clay, those taupes. I love to bring in the shades of those creams, the taupes, the dark browns. All that kind of gets summed up in a blanket like this. I found this one on Wayfair and I just love it. So for us, this season's about coziness, it's about the fabrics, and a fur blanket definitely brings that luxe feeling without breaking the bank. I've also got some beautiful blankets that I found on Amazon, and even places like H&M Home have really good budget-friendly options. Also think about bringing in fabrics like alpaca and cashmere. You may think that these would absolutely break the bank, but sites like Amazon and Brooklinen, they carry these beautiful materials that really just give you that feeling of, like, I just think about like Scotland and like sheep in the meadow and like the brown grass, right? Like those dark, rich, muddy, kind of muted colors and then little sheep, and it's cute, it's cozy, it's luxurious, and for me, that's why I think cashmere and alpaca for this time of year, they are warm, but they're still light, and if you get really nice ones like these, they're not itchy. So I really do think that these are really good ways of bringing in that color palette. Now, you can also bring in a feeling of decadence, and for me, when I think about decadence, I think about brass. I love little accents of brass. You could bring this in through lighting. You could bring it in through accessories. I've got the table set at the moment, and I brought these in here to share with you. I've got my coffee cup for today. You can see how prints are another way of bringing in a decadent feeling, and we've mixed that with the gold here. So you could bring in some zebra. You could also bring in some cheetah print. I love this cheetah print. These are from Ralph Lauren. I'll leave everything linked down below for you. Here we've got, again, kind of a different play, right? It doesn't have as much brown. That's the benefit of the color palette, is it don't feel like everything has to be in the color palette in your home. You're just gonna use that to guide your decisions that will help you bring the feelings that you want in your home. So we've talked about coziness, we've talked about decadence. I think decadent materials and patterns like this really help just lift the entire interior. It feels like a treat. And so I do think that a little bit of brass is a nice way of doing that. You could also bring in brass tones and cheetah prints and things like that through your textiles. You could bring it in through your lighting. You could bring it in through your furniture. If you're trying to really kind of get started, think about like a coffee table with a little bit of brass, right? You don't have to redo your entire house for the season. I'm assuming that you've probably got a baseline here and that we're adding to it. If you wanted to do a seasonal room, you could think about going for a velvet sofa, you could think about velvet chairs, you could think about switching out the coffee table with something made of a beautiful decadent wood, maybe have a little brass on it. There's a lot of different ways that you can do this, but generally speaking, I'm assuming that we're just adding this on as a layer onto your current home. So maybe switching out some of your lighting could be nice, bringing in a little bit of brass, or for me, of course, I have a lot of matte black because that brings in that contrast that I really like, and it kind of balances out the entire palette. I also love the feeling of refinement. I think that's a big part of a luxurious feel. So when you think about how to create a feeling of refinement in the fall season, you've got your color palette and you're thinking about how do I bring the feeling of refinement into my space? Well, a lot of that is about the items that you actually choose. Folding your blanket and laying it over the arm of the chair gives a feeling of refinement, right? We've already talked about the materials themselves. We could also bring in a feeling of refinement, right, through the items themselves. Something like a chain like this, first of all, brings in the color palette. It also brings in the decadence through the materials. This is made of marble. It's not super expensive, guys. It's off of Wayfair. They even sell it on Amazon if it's sold out on Wayfair. But it really helps you bring a refined feeling. And it just feels like something that belongs in a museum, like something that we're just not supposed to have at home. It's something that's very artistic. It feels elevated and really special. And I think all of those things are words that we associate with a feeling of luxury. You could also think about how you put the room together, right? Instead of going for a more casual look, you want to dress things up a little bit. That's why I get so geeked out over things like the plates, right? Crystal or glassware is another thing. To bring in a feeling of refinement, these are items that you can bring into all the different spaces of your home to really create a feeling of sophistication. So beautiful glassware, these are some of my favorites with the optic glass like this. Again, I'll leave the links. But we're going to go for a little bit more of a tailored look in all of the things that we're choosing in our home. So this one's got a little bit of the gold around the edging. You could do some gold flatware. You might want to balance a little bit of that. You might want to also have like the matte black. For me, I've got the table set at the moment with the matte black. And this time of year, I find myself leaning in to that feeling of refinement, things being tidy and neat. A tray is another great way of bringing refinement. It corrals the items so they don't feel so messy when they're sitting on, say, a coffee table or on a sideboard. And using the guide of the color palette will help you choose the items themselves. Some of the materials that to me just define this season, we've got, of course, we've got cashmere. We've got alpaca, we've got fur, we've talked about brass, we've talked about marble, we've talked about, yeah, we talked about brass. What about velvet? Velvet is another great way of including this color palette into your home. It brings a feeling of coziness and refinement. It has just a very decadent, luxurious feel to it. And so these are the elements that I'm really looking towards for this season. I think having the down inserts in your pillows helps it to where you can actually enjoy your home as well. So make sure you do the ones like these that have the inserts and you can switch them out for seasons. That's another way of really getting the most from your money, is just switching out the inserts, and all you have to do for a new season is switch out the covers. I think a little bit of leather is another incredible material that I just absolutely love bringing in at this time of year. Right now, faux croc is so in, along with the animal prints. We're just seeing a season of decadence. We've been talking about that a lot lately, about how interior trends are kind of shifting, and we're seeing things moving towards just a little bit more maximalism, something a little bit louder, right? A faux croc pillow is definitely not really that quiet. It definitely makes a bold, dramatic statement. And so you can easily bring that in through pillows. You could bring it in. I have my eye on some things from Le Object. I cannot promise that they will not appear in this house because I cannot stop thinking about them. I think trays and little vessels with faux croc, I mean, it's just gorgeous. And you could do the black. You could also take the taupe color. You can use the palette however you want to use it. You can use it also through the books that you bring in your home. I personally love the sharpness of the Tom Ford book. I think it just feels really modern and striking. It has that drama. At the moment, I have it mixed up on the table with the new Cosmopolitan Living, and you can see how it's got that warmth and how I'm literally bringing this color palette to life through the items that I am including in my home. So I didn't go get all new furniture. I didn't bring in the pumpkins. I've just brought that, I've looked at that color palette, and then I found things that I own and then added in a few key accessories that help me just bring everything, just really elevates everything, right? So you can have a book open to a beautiful page like this. You can have them sitting closed. You could stack a few. I also think that the green color is really important because a lot of times people feel like we're supposed to bring, I feel like everyone has kind of conditioned us to believe that we need branches of faux leaves in shades of yellow and orange and red, and I just don't enjoy them. I just don't enjoy them, and I feel a little guilty about that, but I just don't enjoy it. So instead, I like to bring these rich, deep, dark colors of green into the home. So you might want to think about bringing in a little bit of moss for that green color. Of course, you could add in a pillow, you could add in a blanket, you could paint your room out in green if you want. But I do think that if you want to bring a little bit of green in and you don't want like a massive reno or, you know, like major changes, I mean, you could do a green sofa as well. That would be stunning. Personally, I'd probably go for the brown. Not that I've been looking, definitely been thinking about it. But easy ways of bringing that color palette in that aren't expensive are doing like the moss balls like these. I buy these off of Amazon, and you can see how we've brought in a very refined, sophisticated feeling bowl that's very sculptural, and we've mixed it in with those really earthy greens through the moss. As you can see up on my fireplace, I've brought in magnolia because I like how it's got that really, really dark green color blending with the brown. I've left the olive tree in the room. I've left the eucalyptus. You can leave a lot of those things in your space and just start switching out some of the accessories in your room. I think that also these sheets of moss are incredible this time of year. It really just gives you that insane feeling of walking through the forest. And look at how it even has that color palette. Even in it, you've got the browns and the greens and the taupes and all those rich colors. This is very inexpensive. I just buy it off of Amazon, and you can add it to bowls. You can see how, look at how we've made a very different look. Moss with the white, moss with the black. But all of these items are still in the color palette, and we have a spectrum that we can play with. So depending on the color of your wall, depending on the color of your sofa, and right, like what you already have, you might want to think about simple, easy ways of adding sculpture, adding glassware, adding maybe some books, right? That fur blanket, the velvet pillows, right? These are easy ways of bringing that color palette to life without having to break the bank. One last thing that we cannot forget for this season is fragrance. Fragrance is so powerful in our sense of a season. So when it comes to fall, I have a little roundup that I'll share with you guys. I'll leave all of this link down below if you're looking for it, or you can look on my LTK or the blog. We kind of post it everywhere, so you guys, wherever you like to find us, you will find it there. But I absolutely love the fragrances of fall. To me, I want to bring in that feeling of damp forest. I love the Apotheke fragrances. Their charcoal candle really brings in that wood smoke kind of smell, and it's so rich and warm and cozy to me. But I also love this one. This is the Pumpkin Ginger by Apotheke, and this definitely brings in that classic feeling of those pumpkins in. And when pumpkins are out, we can add a bowl full of pumpkins into the decor that we already have, right? Like, you don't have to exclude them, right? I know a lot of us love those white pumpkins. So if you're like me, a bowl full of gourds and pumpkins and things like those are the things that I'm gonna add as they are made available. But in the meantime, I'm gonna be burning the pumpkin ginger candle, which my husband's gonna freak when he smells this because it is insane, and it really is going to help bring a little bit of sweetness in as well. I hope today has proven that if you are working on a budget, you can create from a palette no matter how much money you have to spend. It's about knowing the right things to buy and how you can put them together to create a more luxurious feel. So I will leave those items linked down below for you if you want to do a little bit of shopping. But either way, I hope I've left you feeling super inspired and excited to decorate for this fall season. Also, make sure you check out our fall playlist. We have a ton of inspiration there. And like I said before, hit subscribe because we'll be having a full home tour coming very soon. But before we can have the home tour, we've got to have the inspiration. We've got to go, right? We got to know what we're decorating with first. And I'm having a blast already, and I cannot wait to finish out the rest of the house using that gorgeous color palette. So thank you so much for joining me. I will see you guys in the next one. Until then, cheers. Bye.